Oh my goodness. You are not going to believe this. This is like crazy. Guess what? Did you know that Saddam Hussein was a Christian? Seriously. What do you mean you don't believe me? You want proof? Well, I said it. Isn't that proof enough? I mean, isn't that what you do? You say you're a Christian. Isn't that enough proof? I mean, why do we need any more proof than what we say? I said he's a Christian. What do you mean you're still not convinced? Well, I mean, if I say it often enough and if I say it loud enough, you will believe me. You know what? I'll publish it in the newspapers and I'll talk about it on the 5 o'clock news. I'll post it everywhere on social media and I'll declare it wherever I go. I'll have seminars and I'll have classes. I mean, all free, of course. And then I'll institute it in your schools and then I'll institute it in your government. You know what? I think I'll even institute it in your churches. I mean, you will believe what I'm saying. Saddam was a Christian. I mean, all I need one person to believe me. And then that one person will turn into 10, and then that will turn into 1,000, and then 100,000. And next thing you know, I'll have 1 million people believe me. You won't have a choice. You'll have to concede because the majority will believe what I'm telling them. And you know what? If you defy what I'm telling you, I'll call you out. I'll call you a hater and close minded and unwilling to bend. And just so that no one listens to you, I'll make sure that you don't have your own free thinking. And I'll make sure that you understand that there is no freedom in saying what you think. It's what the majority thinks. That's what matters, isn't it? I mean, if you defy me even more, I'll condemn you. I'll throw you in jail. And then you'll be so scared of going to jail or the thought of going to jail that you won't have the guts to stand up to me. And you will keep your mouth shut for sure. I know it. What? You say that Saddam was a Sunni Muslim? Well, he could have at one point stated that he was a Christian. I mean, that's what President Obama did. I mean, didn't he state he was a Christian for political gain? Yeah, I believe he did. And then after he was secured in that political gain, then he started outwardly talking about his Muslim faith. But yet, still, people believe he's a Christian. So why couldn't Saddam be a Christian? Because, I mean, maybe at one point he said he was a Christian. Who knows? What? Saddam was evil? What? He murdered people? He tortured people? He was an evil dictator? What is it that you're always throwing back? Let me think. Oh, I know. Judge not lest ye be judged. I remember you saying that before. So now you want to judge Saddam and his lifestyle and whether he was a Christian or not? I mean, who gave you the authority to do that? Oh, his lifestyle. So, because his lifestyle didn't seem like a Christian, then therefore he's not a Christian. And you're able to do that. You have the authority to say that because he murdered and he stole and he was evil and wait a minute. Doesn't the Bible say that unforgiveness is just the same as being a murderer? I mean, is there not no degree of sin? I mean, sin is sin, right? So, don't you harbor resentment? Really? Don't you lie? Don't you cheat? Don't you yell at people in traffic? I mean, come on, don't you speed every once in a little while? I mean, don't you speak in an ungodly way? I mean, so what difference does that make? I mean, how are you any different than Saddam Hussein? I mean, you call yourself a Christian, so why couldn't he call himself a Christian? Well, you keep mentioning that he was a Muslim, but I don't understand. What does that have to do with it? I mean, are you a hater? Are you profiling Muslims? I mean, didn't your president just tell you that need to be more accepted and tolerant of them? I mean, I'm sure that Saddam believed in some type of higher being, I mean, a God of some sort. I mean, doesn't that make him a Christian? I mean, after all, I hear people all the time talk about how they believe there's a God and that they know there's a God and they call themselves Christians. So why couldn't Saddam do the same? I mean, I also hear people who belong to cults say that they're a Christian because they believe in some sort of higher being or God. I mean, even if it's just the inner being in themselves and that, we all have a God within inside of ourselves. I mean, they call themselves a Christian sometime. I mean, so why couldn't Saddam? What's the difference? I don't get it. Oh, I see. Christ is the difference. Well, I'm sure that Saddam believed that Jesus was a real person at one time. I mean, if you believe, then doesn't that make you a Christian? I mean, you believe in Christ. I mean, after all, you just have to believe and then you can live however you want to and still be a Christian, right? I mean, isn't that what you do? I mean, don't you call yourself a Christian and then talk like a drunken sailor? I mean, don't you call yourself a Christian and then post ungodly things on Facebook? I mean, don't you call yourself a Christian and then talk about your friends behind their back? Don't you call yourself a Christian and then you talk about how you can't forgive somebody or how you hate somebody? I don't get it. I mean, if you can call yourself a Christian and still do those things, then why couldn't Saddam? Oh, I get it. You have to ask for forgiveness. Well, what if Saddam did that? I mean, he could have asked for forgiveness. I mean, even if it was 10 years before he murdered that first person, it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, as long as he asks for forgiveness, he can do whatever he wants after that. I mean, I'm sure he's safe to call himself a Christian. I mean, isn't that what Christians are doing nowadays? I mean, they call themselves Christians, ask for forgiveness, and then they just live however they want. I mean, I see people doing that all the time. So I, I still don't get what you're trying to say. Oh, okay. Okay, so what you're saying is that you have to believe in Christ, you have to ask for forgiveness continuously, you have to live a life that looks like a Christian. In other words, you have to change your life and all the things that you do and say and your lifestyles, and then you have to sin no more? Well, I mean, if that's the case, then wouldn't Saddam's life been evidence that he was a Christian? Wouldn't yours? Hmm. Well, I guess you're right. Saddam wasn't a Christian after all, was he?